Thanks for joining us on Jump Into Fire Safety with Katie. I'm your host, Katie Duclos, fire prevention educator with Kawartha Lakes Fire Rescue Service. It's November, and this month we're talking about carbon monoxide safety. Fire departments and other organizations across Canada use November to raise awareness about the dangers of carbon monoxide poisoning and promote safety measures to protect families and individuals. As winter approaches, we begin using gas-fired appliances, but did you know that appliances that are rarely used over the summer months may develop leaks or blockages and cause carbon monoxide to accumulate inside the home? Let's jump into and learn more about carbon monoxide.
Take a deep breath in. What's happening? Well, your lungs are taking in oxygen from the air, and those oxygen molecules, consisting of two oxygen atoms, go into your bloodstream, where they bind to hemoglobin proteins, which then carry the oxygen throughout your body to vital organs like your brain and heart. When you breathe in carbon monoxide from a vehicle exhaust pipe, fuel-burning heating system, or other source, those molecules, consisting of a carbon atom and an oxygen atom, take the place of the oxygen molecules, hitching a dangerous ride on hemoglobin that can lead to a death similar to suffocation. For the most part, we're all aware of this phenomenon. It's known as carbon monoxide poisoning, the silent killer. But did you know that not all forms of CO poisoning result from large levels of exposure in a short period of time? That's right. Less is known about the harmful effects that lower levels of carbon monoxide exposure can have, both acutely and over long periods of time. But there is research out there to suggest it's a problem. It has been shown that CO poisoning has both short-term and long-term effects, the report reads. In the long term, studies indicate there are serious and permanent consequences to CO poisoning, such as neuropsychological and cardiovascular complications. Most of the research out there on the effects of low-level and long-term CO exposure is old, dating back to the early 2000s or even earlier, which suggests there's a need for more research. One study from 1998 found that low-level CO exposure led to an impairment of cognitive functions like problem-solving and memory formation. It also damaged the heart, especially for individuals who already have a heart condition. In patients with coronary heart disease, the study says inhalation of slightly elevated concentrations of carbon monoxide in air produced mean blood carboxyhemoglobin levels of 0.02 to 0.04 and causes coronary ischemia. That means the hemoglobin hijacking process we discussed earlier is occurring and the heart is not getting enough oxygen. A 2002 study hypothesized that lack of oxygen, or hypoxia, may not be the only mechanism involved in cases of CO poisoning, as evidenced by the fact that when carboxyhemoglobin levels return to normal, symptoms can persist. The study pointed to research showing CO may actually be involved naturally with the neurological processes that allow people to form memories. Too much of it, or its introduction from an external source, and maybe those processes can be disrupted. Other symptoms of low-level, long-term CO exposure include headache, fatigue, malaise, nausea and vomiting, numbness, vision problems, sleep disturbances, and more, according to Harvard Medical School's webpage on CO poisoning. Addressing the issue of low-level exposure is quite complicated. The Research Foundation's February report indicates that different organizations like OSHA, NIOSH, and the EPA have different recommended safe thresholds for CO exposure. One says exposure to 50 parts per million in air over 8 hours is safe, while others say it's as low as 9 ppm. According to manufacturer websites, some CO alarms won't sound at levels below 40 or 50 ppm, and when they do, it requires those levels to persist for several hours before they do in fact sound. In March, Brian Stanley, a home inspector who's gathered a large following on the popular social media app TikTok, gave an interview with Business Insider, in which he said he recommends homeowners invest in detectors that can pick up on low levels of carbon monoxide. What most people don't realize, he said, is that a carbon monoxide alarm only goes off when there are deadly amounts of carbon monoxide in the house. To make matters worse, most CO detectors are designed to prevent deaths from high levels of CO, not injuries from chronic exposure to low levels, the organization's website reads. So what can you do? Well, prevention and knowledge is key. Know the sources of CO, and know how your body might be giving you slight clues that something's wrong. The NCOAA has more information on this on its website at ncoaa.us. as does NFPA at nfpa.org/carbon monoxide.
As we learned in the video, carbon monoxide is often called the silent killer because it is colorless, odorless, and tasteless. It can be produced by any fuel-burning appliances in our homes, such as gas stoves, water heaters, and furnaces. Fortunately, there are simple steps we can take to protect ourselves. The most important protection measure is to install a carbon monoxide alarm. Carbon monoxide alarms can be battery-powered, like this one, plug in with a battery backup, or hardwired with a battery backup. Carbon monoxides may also be combined with smoke alarms, like this one here, which is hardwired with a 10-year lithium-ion battery that never needs to be changed. If you have a carbon monoxide alarm, make sure it is within its expiration date. Typically, carbon monoxide alarms are effective for 5 to 7 years after the date of manufacture, or as per manufacturer's instructions. The date of manufacture should be on the back or side of the alarm, or the alarm may have a replace by date. Some newer models are good for 10 years with a lithium-ion battery that never needs to be replaced. Unlike best before dates, the expiration date on an alarm is not a recommendation. It's a requirement by law. Your alarm also has to be tested each month to make sure it is working properly. All modern CO alarms will have a test button to make sure there is power. The alarm will beep 4 times. If you have a combination alarm, it will sound for the smoke alarm as well as the CO alarm. If your alarm chirps intermittently, it could mean that the batteries need to be replaced or that the alarm has reached the end of life. To test our alarms at home, all we have to do is press the test button, just like this, and we're going to hear 4 quick beeps. That's it. That's all we need to do to make sure our alarms have power. So we heard what it sounded like to test a carbon monoxide alarm. This is a carbon monoxide and smoke alarm combination alarm, which serves for 2 different functions. I'm going to play it now. It's going to test for the smoke alarm and then the carbon monoxide alarm.
Warning, carbon monoxide, monoxide de carbone.
And there we have tested both our smoke alarm and our carbon monoxide alarm. Carbon monoxide alarms are required by law to be installed outside of all sleeping areas in homes that have a fuel-burning appliance, attached garage, or wood-burning fireplace. Most carbon monoxide alarms can actually be installed at any height within a room or on the ceiling, but you should always follow the manufacturer's instructions for placement. Carbon monoxide alarms are required by law to be installed. This law, called the Hawkins-Gene Act, was put in place to proclaim Carbon Monoxide Awareness Week and to amend the Fire Protection and Prevention Act of 1997 to provide safety requirements related to the presence of unsafe levels of carbon monoxide. In October of 2014, the Ontario government formally enacted the new law making carbon monoxide alarms mandatory in all Ontario homes at risk of CO. After April 15th of 2015, homeowners and landlords with buildings housing 6 residential occupancies or less are required to comply with the law or risk penalties. The act was named in honor of the Hawkins family, Lori, her husband Richard, and their 2 children, Cassie and Jordan, who were tragically killed by carbon monoxide poisoning in their Woodstock home in 2008. I have 2 videos now that I want to show you. In the first video, we will hear from John Genak, the uncle of Lori Hawkins, who led the way to create a carbon monoxide alarm law in honor of his niece and her family. The second video, we will learn about what you can do to maintain your home to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning. Let's jump into it.
Carbon monoxide is called the silent killer. That's because you can't see it, taste it, or smell it. But I can. I can see it when I look at pictures of my niece and her family. I can taste it when I remember the dinners we used to share. And I can smell it when I pass the rink that her husband and kids used to skate on. My name is John Genak. That was me 4 years ago, after carbon monoxide killed my niece, Lori Hawkins, and her entire family. They did not have a carbon monoxide alarm. We're extremely thankful that the Ontario government has passed a new law making CO alarms mandatory for all homes with an attached garage, fireplace, gas appliance, or heating system. Now I need you to do your part by installing a CO alarm today. Help me honor my family's memory and make sure your family is protected. Lori would want it that way. For more information and safety tips, go to endthesilence.ca.
Follow these guidelines to make sure you and your loved ones are safe from carbon monoxide this winter. Have heating equipment and chimneys inspected by a professional every year before cold weather sets in. Clear all debris from dryer, furnace, stove, and fireplace vents. During and after a snowstorm, make sure vents for the dryer, furnace, stove, and fireplace are clear of snow buildup. A generator should be used outdoors. Use in a well-ventilated location away from windows, doors, and vent openings. Open the damper when using a fireplace for adequate ventilation. Never use your oven or stove to heat your home.
As we found out, proper ventilation is key to preventing carbon monoxide buildup. Regularly check vents and chimneys for any blockages that could obstruct the flow of air. If your carbon monoxide alarm ever goes off, don't ignore it. Evacuate your home immediately and call 911. Stay outside until emergency responders give you the all clear. Your safety is our top priority. We've already learned a lot today. Here we are in the truck bay at Kawartha Lakes Fire Headquarters. Standing with me is Deputy Chief Mike Matthews. Hey Mike, how are you?
Good, how are you today? Hi everybody.
We are going to be talking about what the crews do when they receive a carbon monoxide call. Come on and join us. Can you run us through what the crews do when they receive a CO call?
Sure, so one of the first things that they're going to do is they're going to use their multi-gas detector. So this detector actually will check for CO, but also for other gases in the house as well, including oxygen. Just push the button and it'll start to turn on. They're going to use their detector and they're going to put it inside the front door. And they're going to hold it in there for a little bit for the allow the gases to get into the detector. And then the detector will tell them whether there is CO in the house or not. If there is a high amount of CO, over 50 parts per million, they'll put on their SCBA before they go any further into the house. If there's less, then they will go in and try and determine the cause of why the CO alarm went off.
What kind of questions would you ask the homeowners when you arrive on scene?
So some of the important things we want to know are where are the CO alarms in the house? That way we know if they're all over the house on different floors or there's only one. And maybe what appliances they had going.
What if the occupants of the home are experiencing carbon monoxide poisoning symptoms?
So the most important thing is for them to be out in the fresh air. Being out of the CO environment will automatically help them by just not being in somewhere where there's the hazardous gas.
Okay, thank you again.
You're welcome.
For additional fire safety information and upcoming events, check our social media as well as the city website, which can be found at www.kawarthalakes.ca/fire. Thanks for joining me on Jump Into Fire Safety with Katie. Let's keep Kawartha Lakes fire safe.